Hey everybody, I'm going to talk a little bit about shamanic flow and also like vortex activation, because I've been asked, when people have these dreams that come true, they feel like they're having their shamanic awakening and they wonder what makes a place special. Like so many people think about like Taos, Sedona, Asheville, and what activates these, what makes these things to where they become these like vortexes or places where people make these pilgrimages basically to go to be awakened or continuing their awakening process, or to start or really peak out on their spiritual journey. There isn't just one thing that does that. There's a series of events, and often enough, if you're in alignment with that shamanic flow, a series of events may come in to just close down life in one location and then start to make it happen in another. I can think of like, well, I left the Fort Lauderdale. Actually, I was in Lake Worth, Florida. Went into um, Fredericksburg, Maryland area to do a quick, retreat project, and then things started falling in place to go into Detroit. And it was interesting. The people around that area, their shaman died, and they went to the ceremony to bring in another shaman in that area, and somehow I got pulled into that. So I was up there for a year to the week, community gardens and all this other stuff, and then it just kind of like closed, and I just took my opportunity to leave that place. Sometimes, I watched Asheville. I remember basically it was real kind of like KKK territory long time ago. And then I've made a couple times, I've worked up there back in 98, and then I went back in 2008. But yeah, so these areas open up and they give these pulses and they pull in different people that do these different things and so on. But there's also these series of events that happen in nature where they need that other component. And to help in the activation, it's usually it happens from the radiation of a person's consciousness, a group consciousness, an event, ceremony, so to speak. Things that kick it off into the next channel, or either raise it up or not, make it go down a notch. Geomantic structures, work with that to where you can have a geomantic structure in there, anything from medicine wheel to a dome, or a series of events with sweat lodges and so on, as one particular site that seems to be radiating with that vortex kind of energy. The vortex kind of energy would be, you go to a certain place, sit on a rock, or make a campfire there, and the thoughts just come to you. It's almost like a new spring opens up on the side of a cliff, and now you have fresh water coming there. Except with this, it's like information, energy, skill sets, memories, all kinds of things, depending a lot on the astrocartography of that particular geographic location and the alchemy and activities that the people in that area are doing at that particular site. Now, a lot of people say they get visions of what needs to be done in these places. I would not do that. I go to a place. People say, these are the things that are happening in my area. What should I do? I'm not there. Well, can you do a long distance reconnaissance? So, yeah, I could. But I'm also going to pick up little bits and pieces from your location to my location, and I don't know which part of that is favorable to your condition or not. So people would pay my way to get there, lodging and all that, and I'd do a quick scan and make some recommendations, and they give me updates on that. The other one is like, I go through these phases to where I'm going to be doing this type of event for X amount of years, usually 4 or 5 years. And then I'll go through this phase of cocoon phase, which kind of like I'm going in, cleansing of all these things that I've done, recalibrating myself, resting up, going through, allowing myself to go through the changes that's needed for the next phase that I go through. And so, like I said, it's been on this farm 5 years, 4 years. I haven't traveled outside the country, since May of 2020, so I came back to the United States. And so it's just been working on the boat, doing farm things, going through one of the longer cocoon phases, and transitioning that I've ever experienced. But now, as I'm finishing the boat and ready to put it in the water, it's funny that these things are activating in Texas all the way from Garland, Fort Worth, Dallas area, down here into Austin. And even, it's also a little tag of a maybe that might happen in Taos, New Mexico. But then also a strong pull from Central Florida, where I used to live many years ago, 40-ish years ago. And so that would affect the states in between. So now you're also looking at, Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana, and maybe even like half of Georgia. So, and we'll see what happens with that. And I also look at like the similarities of what people are thinking about dreams and the different locations, because that can tell you a lot of different things. But these are all very, very simple, and it's all been by women, and healings, dreams, visions, old female customs and things like that. But then they're just looking for that ancient information to be delivered person to person. Okay, maybe set up retreats and things like that. Home, secondary home, or a spiritual home, so to speak. And so I'm looking at that and looking at the synchronization between what's happening to me, closing my time in Texas. And then the other question somebody was saying, like, but why would this be happening as you're getting ready to leave? Well, it's for that spark, to go to places, to go to venues, give talks, share the information and skill set I have to see if that kindles a fire for something to evolve that fits the people of that area really well. As I was talking to Orshi, she has a site called Shamanic Woman. Back, I don't want to say like 6-7 years ago, she was helping me do events in Cluj-Napoca, Romania, and the Transylvania speak area of Romania. And she was like, well, I could help you do all kinds of classes, workshops, sweat lodges, and all that. It would do the people really good. I'm like, yeah, it would. Or I could spend a lot of concentrated time creating a leader for that area, and I can leave, and that person would be leading the local people in the way that would be best for them, especially through a familiar language and so on. And that's what happened with her. She went through her shamanic apprenticeship, and she's the spiritual leader of that area, and most of Transylvania, as a matter of fact. So that's how a shaman transitioning, or maybe just being in a place for a few years can do that. So I look at it, I've integrated well with Central Texas, at least in this part. Your astrological chart starts to do you feel the effects of a relocated chart within 2 years. So I've got that happening. So I fit in, I can relate to the people now. I feel at home here, even though I'm leaving. I grew up all over the planet. So first 4 years of my life were in Tetsugawa, Japan, and then traveling from there. So that's how I see this, on the first part. And I wouldn't dare to say where I think it'll go from there. I could be coming back and forth to Texas, New Mexico, Arizona, I don't know. I'm really not a desert person. I'm a beach and forest person, but, I go where I need to go. So the other reason I want to do this video is if you're in this area, or if you're in somewhere between Texas and Florida, and you're feeling like something's being activated in your location, then please leave a comment, and or you can write me at shamaniclodge@gmail.com, and we'll communicate and see what's going on. I've put it out there in my prayers. I would love to be able to go back to doing work in my own country, the United States. Things kind of closed down back in the late 90s. I did a few things, like I said, in 2000, 98 and 2000 in Asheville, went back 2008. But other than that, people just seem to lose the interest of really learning, at least in higher learning. And they were just staying with the lower level New Age stuff. you know, and that's fine. If that's all the farther they want to go, that's great. But it really doesn't do well for the advancement of the culture or the potential that we have, you know, as Americans in the United States to really serve the world and set a good example. All right. So I look forward to doing more. So I'll keep you guys updated, you know, and I may, starting next Saturday, which I think is the 11th of November, and the one after that, working out of yoga place in Austin. I'm not going to name it just yet until I actually get there. You know, I'm just a weird, superstitious guy like that. You know, sometimes I'm a real practical, logical man. I think most of the time I am, but now I have my little Appalachian superstitions that hold me back. But I'll keep you guys updated on that. Until then, I'm going to ask you guys to check out Dr. Lana Morrow, Lana and Morrow, because I might be working with her in some of these things in Austin, and get a little bit of a feel for her, because she's a neuroscientist, and I'm really happy that more people like that are taking an interest in shamanism, and besides an anthropological study, but actually an application, you know, making that wonderful blend of knowledge between science and shamanism that I'm so happy to see these days. All right, people. Until then, I'll catch up with you.